Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Today I would like to show you how to do the national contiguity with a force-directed graph from FreeCodeCamp. As you can see, we have many flags here, a tooltip, and I can drag the countries or the flags and at the same time see all the nodes and the links between the countries. So let's hit to FreeCodeCamp and see the user stories. I can see a force-directed graph that shows which countries share borders, and I can see each country's flag on its nodes. There is a dataset as always, and here we can see every detail like the country and the code for each one. So we have the nodes. And if you go a little bit down, you can see the links that we have, the target and the source. And we are going to use all these kind of beautiful things in our code. We have something more special this time, and it's the flags. In the right part, you can read some information about what is the sprites, the CSS sprites. But for now you just have to download either the zip or the tag, and of course you can check what flags you would like to use and then download it. I've already done this part, extract it, and here you will find some information in the readme file, and then please open the flag CSS and not the minified version. And once again, here you will find all the CSS that we are just gonna copy and paste in our Codepen. So let's dive into it. I'm going to close these windows. Here is what we're going to do. And now let's start doing it. I've already written the header and the subheader, and in the CSS I have a body with background color light gray and some CSS for the headers and the paragraph. Now I'm using SCSS, but you don't have to do it, it's not mandatory. And here I'm using the Bootstrap, and for JavaScript, of course, I'm using the library D3.js, but I'm using the third version, whereas the fourth one is the latest one. But there are some differences, so I prefer to use the third one. Alright, let's go into code. I'm not going to write a lot of things in the HTML, just the basics, which are a div with an ID container, another tag with ID graph, and last but not least, an ID with the flags. Alright, back to CSS. Here I'm going to have the container, which is going to have a margin auto, a link with stroke gray, and a hashtag flags with the position of absolute. Now just copy and paste all this beautiful CSS code that it's written for you and go to flags and change some things. We don't want the display, but we want the width, the height, and add a position of absolute. And as for background, you can have your own URL, but here I'm just going to copy and paste the URL from this image here. And we are ready to start the JavaScript part, which in my opinion is the most interesting. As always, we are going to start with defining the dimensions of our visualization. We're using a size that's convenient for displaying the graphic on, and its margin with top 10, right 5, bottom 10, and left 100. The width is going to be 1040 minus margin dot left minus margin dot right, and for height we're going to have 900 minus margin dot top minus margin bottom. Now we start off by creating an SVG container to hold the visualization. We only need to specify the dimensions for this container. So we have var svg equals d3.selectBody.append the NVG, and an attribute with width, and attribute height and height. Then we are going to create the tooltip that holds the country name. So I'm going to have a tooltip which equals to d3.selectBody.append the div, and inside there you'll have an attribute with class and tooltip. The style is going to be a background of orange red, a color of white, and then I'm going to have a width of 90 pixels, and that's it. Now we are going to add the call to our dataset. So just copy and paste the link and write d3.json. Copy the link, paste the link, and then you'll have the function with the parameter of data. And inside there you're going to have the nodes and the links. So in this way we extract the nodes and links from the data. Now we create a force layout object and define its properties. Those include the dimensions of the visualization and the arrays of nodes and links. So you'll have a var force which equals d3.layoutForce and a size of the width and the height that we defined earlier. The nodes of d3.valuesNodes, links, and on tick we want to have the tick. There are many more properties. I'm going to use the link distance. That's generally a configurable value, and for a simple example we'd normally leave it as its default. Unfortunately, the default value results in a visualization that's not especially clear, so this parameter defines the distance, normally in pixels, that we'd like to have between nodes and that are connected. It is thus the length we'd like our links to have, so in our case this is 300. Okay, now we will add the nodes and links to the visualization. Note that we are just sticking them into the SVG container at this point. We start with links. The order here is important because we want the nodes to appear on the top of the links. SVG doesn't really have a convenient equivalent to HTML's and index. Instead, it relies on the order of the elements in the markup. By adding the nodes after the links, we ensure that nodes appear on top of links. Links are pretty simple. They are just SVG lines, and we are not even going to specify their coordinates. We'll let the force layout take care of that. Without any coordinates, the lines won't even be visible, but the markup will be sitting inside the SVG container, ready and waiting for the force layout. Now we have the three most basic functions that we usually use in all our D3 projects, which is mouse over, mouse move, and the mouse out. We are about to tell the force layout to start its calculations. We do, however, want to know when those calculations are complete. So before we kick things off, we'll define a function that we want the layout to call. Once the calculations are done, and this is the function tick E. First, let's reposition the nodes. As the force layout runs, it updates the X and Y properties that define where the node should be positioned. To move the node, we set the appropriate SVG attributes to their new values. We also need to update positions of the links. For those elements, the force layout sets the source and target properties, specifying the Y and X values in each case. Alright. The tooltip with the name of the country is going to show up in mouse over handle, and relieving a flag, the tooltip will disappear. That's the mouse out handler. Alright. We need to specify the x1, x2, and y1 and 2 with sources and targets. And now it's the time to hover over a flag. With the function mouse over handler and a tooltip transition dot style opacity 9 and tooltip HTML, open and close a paragraph, and inside there add the country with D and country. As for the next function, which as I mentioned before, it's leaving the flag and the tooltip disappears, we're going to have the function mouse out handler D with the tooltip dot transition and style opacity of 0. Last but not least, we have the function mouse moving D, and here we just want the tooltip dot style of top. We don't need the opacity, and in the parentheses we're going to have the D3 dot event dot page Y minus 10 plus the pixel and dot style left D3 dot event. This time we're going to have the page X plus 10, and of course we need the pixels again, and one more time add the style, but this time we will define the color, which will be white. Alright, I think there are a couple of mistakes here because we can't really see what we have created, and one of these mistakes is the image and the parentheses that it should be closing here after the link, and the source, although I mentioned it that it should be target, I didn't really fix that, I just copy and paste it, so yeah, I guess you should be quite more careful than me. Let's see the result in a bigger page, and that's it. Everything seems to work fine. I will leave the link in the description box. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.